What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the iOS Dev Podcast. And this episode is a little special one, end of the year recap. We had to do it, right? We had to do it. And in this episode, we're going to be going through some of the lessons I've learned from talking to dozens of iOS developers, and some of them top of the industry, right? Some of them top tier iOS developers. Number one iOS developer in the world. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. The first lesson I've really learned speaking with them is consistency. Like just being consistent in terms of learning new technologies, frameworks, and like paradigms, and consistency in terms of just coding, like consistently working on your craft and getting better. On a long enough time horizon, it really compounds and can be super beneficial in your career. So yeah, the first one for sure is consistency, because all of them, you talk to them, they've consistently been coding for a while. Some of them for decades, some of them for multiple decades, right? So it's just that consistency is key if you want to succeed and thrive as a developer. The second thing I've learned is taking things one step at a time. And by that, I mean not trying to just wake up one day and try to build Facebook, right? Or Instagram, right? Like things like that take time, and it's being able to chunk them or just figure out what you need to do now to get a little bit closer and get a little bit closer and get a little bit closer. And you do that repeatedly, and it's kind of like the consistency part. It compounds. Like you do those two things and you can get very far, right? Because sometimes you can be very ambitious and be like, oh, or sometimes you can fall into like the perfectionist trap and be like, oh, I have to build my first app on the AppStore has to be an Instagram level application where we have 300 features. I build out the database, the whole backend from scratch. We have you optimize everything. You have the best algorithms in the world. And what you do is you overwhelm yourself. And even if you semi-succeed, no one's gonna use your app, right? So the key thing though is to not to overwhelm yourself, because then you could end up in a place where you don't do anything, and then you just start feeling bad for yourself. Like you're like, oh, I can't do it. But in reality, if you just chunk it down, build something small, maybe like to-do list. Nothing wrong with to-do list, right? Everybody does it. But maybe like a to-do list app. There's also, you can do something, a weather app, even a basic messaging app. Just something that gets you a little bit closer, right? Think about where you want to go. If you want to become an iOS developer and you haven't built out any apps, then start small, right? Try to build a to-do list app. And from there you can iterate, get a little bit more complexity. That's the second biggest thing I've learned. Now for the third, and this is a pretty big one, is be active in the community. Just being active in the community, give back, share what you were learning, what you're working on, and share like interesting stuff in your way of doing it, because you can be the best iOS developer in the world, right? But if you haven't shared anything or nobody knows you, it's gonna be a lot harder to stand out. And not just that though, the community is also very, the developer and especially the iOS community, it's very friendly. Like if you have issues, people will help you. If you have bugs, if you share something that's interesting, people will share it, people will like it. And if you're a good person, people will help you out. And that's just been my experience. And also in terms of landing jobs, like being active in the community, it can really help you landing a job, or even get people coming towards you for like gigs and stuff, right? Because if you're active in the community, like when people think of you, they're like, oh, yeah, I know him, right? So it's a lot easier to do certain things. So let's just get a job, which can be pretty important. The fourth thing is imposter syndrome. And that's something that's really big. And that's something you hear this in all industries though, But that's always the interesting thing. Like imposter syndrome is very real. It's very prevalent amongst developers. And the lesson about imposter syndrome is don't let it stop you, because you accept it. Of course, you might feel like an imposter. You might feel like, oh, you're not there yet when it comes to XYZ. For example, maybe you say, oh, maybe I'm not a senior developer yet, or maybe I'm not a junior yet. But that's just the imposter in you talking, when in reality, if you embraced it and started working towards it instead of thinking, because that's what imposter syndrome is. Like you start thinking, oh, I'm not gonna. But if you like do the work and you're learning and you're constantly building apps, you're building your knowledge base, then inevitably you will get there, even if you aren't there now. Maybe because maybe the imposter syndrome is right. Maybe maybe you don't know that much. But if you stop overthinking and just start doing, aka action, then you can go a long way and also not be stopped by that imposter syndrome / fear that's holding you back. And from what I've seen, it's the people who really do that succeed, thrive, and excel in the industry and just in life. And those are some of the lessons I learned from speaking with people on the iOS Dev podcast. Now I want to talk about some lessons I've learned through building some apps this year. This year I was able to build 3 apps. Well, not build 3 apps, but I was able to release 3 apps to the App Store. I built quite a few. I don't keep track how many apps I built, but I have a little repertoire on my hard drive. But in terms of the App Store, yeah, I was able to release 3 apps. One of them is around 25 MRR, like monthly recurring revenue. The other one is probably like at $100 lifetime. And they still need work and can be improved, but it was really fun just building them out and getting them onto the App Store. And one of the biggest lessons I learned through that is don't overthink the design, because I see that time and time again where people are just overthinking the design when no one's going to use your app, to be honest. Well, unless you're building for a very specific case or already have an audience, no one's really going to be using your app that much, right? So don't overthink the design. It will evolve over time. And what I like to always do is like take inspiration from other apps, or just like on Dribble and stuff like that. Like if you can take some inspiration, add a little bit of your flavor, and mix and match some things, then you can build a pretty nice looking app. And that's definitely been the biggest lesson. And now I just want a quick overview of the year. It's been a good year. Thank you guys for watching. We started this podcast this year, 2023, and we're still going strong for 2024. We have some episodes coming up. I'm excited to see where it goes. And thank you guys for being a part of the journey. It's been a great 2023, to be honest. A lot of ups and downs. I didn't know no one knows what's going to happen, right? But I didn't know how things would play out, and they played out pretty interestingly. I started off the year still working my full-time job as an iOS developer, and midway through I decided to make a leap and leave that. And it was kind of a bit scary, and I don't recommend it for people, because you do have to. It's a lot of pressure you put on yourself if you do that, in terms of like finances and stuff, because your money dries up faster than you think. But now I've been able to secure a few freelancing gigs and also pick up a contract with Scale AI, which actually has been really cool. We're working like on some AI stuff. We're helping like fine tuning, and I'm actually doing some like technical interviews for them. So that's pretty interesting to be a technical interviewer. I get to tap in to see how people's mind work. And something funny or interesting, if I dress like this or if I wear a suit during an interview, it's a great way to like throw off or intimidate a developer. Well, I feel bad. I don't do it often, and I don't even do it on purpose. I just did it one day, and I was like, oh, wow, these people. It throws them off. Those are some of the few things I've been working on. And yeah, and some freelancing I'm pretty excited about. I'm about to start a new project. I'm meeting with the founder later today, and that should be really interesting. I'm excited to see where that project goes. And if you guys haven't seen, I've been doing quite a few live streams recently on LinkedIn and some on here on YouTube. And that was the build up to announce the new Break into iOS program. It's a program that I'm launching for people trying to break into tech and become iOS developers like I did myself. You guys have probably heard my story, right? I was like an accountant working kind of like a dead end job, kind of bored, not as fulfilled. And then programming piqued my interest, and I kind of enjoyed it, building out some projects, doing the whole like YouTube tutorials build out. And then I decided to actually make it a career change and go all in. And I was able to, and here I am now. It's gone full circle. Now I'm trying to help iOS developers. Well, I'm trying to help aspiring iOS developers do the same. So if that includes you, go to breakintoios.com, sign up for the newsletter, and there you can also book a mini coaching session. It's a free one-on-one session. We'll just sit down and talk about your goals, what's going right, what's going wrong, and to see if the program may be helpful for you. In the Break into iOS program, I like to think of it as 3 pillars. We have the technical, we have the portfolio, and we have the job search. We hit on each of these pillars throughout the 12 weeks in our one-on-one calls that occur weekly, and also in the group coaching sessions that happen. And recordings are available for all of them in case you guys want them to review them in the future. And we also conduct some mock interviews, which I think is some it's really like the best, because there's nothing like practice. And for something like that where it's like a high stakes, pretty stressful, like as an interviewee, so having that practice on your belt can really help you be prepared and be at ease. Part of the inspiration of this program was my journey as a self-taught developer. I know it can be very tough, and also just building out a program I wish I would have had that would have made the process a lot much easier and helped me land an even better job, even higher paying job. If you guys are interested in learning more, breakintoios.com. You can subscribe to the newsletter, and you can book a call there, a little mini coaching session. Shout out to the people who've been watching consistently and made it this far. You guys are the true MVP. So yeah, guys, stay tuned. There's still more to come. Breakintoios.com. Make sure you guys subscribe to the newsletter. Book a little mini coaching session as well if you're trying to break into the industry. And yeah, guys, enjoy the new year. Cheers. It's water. Peace.